everyone. Today we got to play Mobile Markets, a smartphone ink game. Now, there is another game.
Smartphone ink.
Yeah, that we played before and we reviewed. So
well, we reviewed it before we had the channel.
Oh, did we
yes,
really?
It's not. I went and searched. We don't have the review up on the channel, so
it's a written review.
Yes,
it's a written review.
We'll have to go back and re-review that one for the channel sometime so we can add it.
Well, it is in a written review, so if you do want to see that,
you can find it somewhere.
No, it is. It's on our website. It's actually at the...
Oh, you posted them on our website?
Yeah,
okay.
So it is on our website but it is written, so you would have to read. I don't know. Depends on you. All right, so Mobile Markets, though, it's a new one that came out. And we're very excited to review this one. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Mobile Markets?
So this was a 2021 release, actually. We picked it up at Origins last year.
Okay.
And then it took forever to come out at retail and just recently released at retail. So Mobile Markets has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.3 and a Board Game Geek rank of 3461. By comparison, the original Smartphone Inc. has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.6 and a Board Game Geek rank of 402. So, it's been out longer, it's had more time to establish itself, but obviously people voted higher for Smartphone Inc. We'll see what we think.
Well, and I think it may have to do with some of the complexity.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
It's a 1 to 4 player game. The length of it is 40 to 80 minutes, slightly shorter than Smartphone Inc., which I was surprised because it seemed like that one was longer by a considerable margin. But the Board Game Geek lists it at 60 to 90 minutes versus 40 to 80 minutes. So, I guess we're just slow.
I know exactly what took us the longest amount of time.
Age 14 and up. Designed by Ivan Lashin. Art by Victor Miller-Gossa. Published by Arcane Wonders and several others. Cosmodrome Games and several others. MSRP is $44.99 for this. The Card House has it for $32.39. Miniature Market for $31.99. That's the cheapest price I found it. Boardlandia for $33.99 and Noble Knight for $39.95. This is basically, it's got, Board Game Geek lists this as action cue. They list it as pool, card, and deck building, or pool bag and whatever building, but it's really an engine builder. You don't ever take possession of the cards into your hand per se.
Well, they get played.
The attributes, you play them and change them out, kind of like a hand. And then open drafting and simultaneous action selection. That's a big part of this game.
Now let's talk about the quality of components. So there are a lot of cards in this one, and there's no linen finish on them. They're okay thickness, but there isn't a lot of shuffling just once at the beginning of the game.
Well,
maybe a second time
as you run through the deck.
As you run through the deck, depending on player count. And then you also have the cardboard. They're sort of inlaid in the fact that they've got holes to where you put your cubes so they don't slide everywhere, which is very beneficial. And then you have these thick cardboard tiles as well as your standard terraforming marble cubes now. They're there as well.
Yeah.
Overall, at quality, I think it's fine. I don't think they did anything absolutely great or anything.
No.
So
now, the one thing I will point out is the purple cards. There are several cards in there, at least in our set, but I'm assuming it's probably a global problem, that are slightly darker printed. So, unfortunately, it's probably not going to show up real well with the camera lighting, but I took a picture to show the difference. But yeah, there's a distinct, you can tell if you saw that card come up. If you've played this enough times, you'll memorize what those cards are, and it's going to be a problem because
we don't play games enough.
Yeah, well, it really, I hate when you have a handful of cards come up that have differences in printing, and this definitely has that problem.
Okay. So overall, again, nothing spectacular. I'm at a 5.5.
I'm probably going to give it a 6 just because I think the board punches, particularly in the center area, because I really like this, how they did this, but I think that's more to do with the execution of the gameplay, but it manages the game very well. So I think it wouldn't do so well without the different insert punches on the boards. But I don't think there's anything outstanding or spectacular about the quality beyond that.
Okay, all right. So now let's move on to the actual theme. So the theme is that you're a company making smartphones, and you want to sell it to as many customers as you can, or maybe to make most of the profit that you can. So it really is like you're owning a business. Now you have the opportunity to upgrade your tech and spend money on spend on marketing, and therefore be able to either produce more or produce better type of items, and therefore being able to attract different sellers. So this is a competition game. So how many ever players is how many other companies that you have, and you're trying to go after those customers, which are kind of finite to most of it. So you got to be careful, because if you overproduce but you have no one to sell it to, then you're up creek. And if you outprice the market, then again, you won't have anyone to sell to. So there's a lot of things going on thematically. I think they did a spot on job as far as marketing and like the consumerism of it.
And if you don't have the right features, you have trouble selling it as well. Right.
So I think the theme is very integrated into gameplay, and I think they did a really good job there. The art, I think, is okay. I mean, it's all right. There's nothing breathtaking about it, but I think they did an okay job with that as well. And then styling wise, I don't think anything is lost. So overall, though, the theme being so integrated, I'm willing to give it an 8, because I do think it's so important to the.
This reminds me of the last business class I had, where it was a simulation of running a business, where you had to decide how much you're going to allocate to marketing, how much what features you're going to put in your product. It brought back great memories of that class, because that was like my favorite class in college. And this runs very similarly to that in a board game format. So kudos to them for capturing the essence of running a business so well. I agree with you on the rating. The only concern I have with the theme is it's going to become dated really fast.
Correct.
Because technology changes so fast, and you've got 5G. I guarantee you there'll be a 6G or 7F or some other technology.
Now, I'll be honest, one of the icons we were calling flip phone, but it's not a flip phone. It's the
foldable phones.
Which essentially is the same thing, mind you. But
I think they're kind of already dying out, because there's so many problems with the screens.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well those are taking off anyway. But yeah, there's technologies that I think are going to be, very dated very soon. I mean, there's 8K, which is great for now, but
give it a year.
It doesn't take long at all for the technology to advance.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that is. But right now, we're in this era. It will probably not age well. Ask me in 5 years, and I'll be like, yeah. All right, so let's move on to the actual rule book. What did you think overall?
Well, I think the rule book is well designed. It's a 20-page rule book. Oh, no, 28-page rule book, but only to page 20 is actual rules. It's got a nice cover. It matches pretty much, a little bit like the box. It's not quite the same, but it's very crisp and clear. White, got blues and blacks on it. Got pictures of everything, which I like, and when it shows you all the pictures. There are a few translation issues, because it was clearly written in another language and translated to English, particularly on the cards in the game. There's the event cards. There's a lot of bad translations on the cards. The book had a few, but not nearly as many as the cards did. But the big issue with the rules is there's a lot of minutia rules around the cards that are in play. The only place they're in is in the appendix. They didn't spell them out on the cards. So, we've played it wrong several times, because the cards didn't have all the rules that pertain to the card that would tell you have to only play it in this condition or that condition. They were only found in the rule book in the appendix. And, nobody's going to go and check the appendix unless there's a question about the card. And these cards look pretty straightforward when you read them. It wasn't something that caused confusion about it. So you're not going to want to go reference the book every time you play a card. Yeah. That was really the only problem I saw with the rule book. All in all, it's a pretty good rule book. I'll probably give it a 7.
Okay. All right. So now let's move on to the actual gameplay. So the gameplay, you start out with your, not quite hand, but you get a special technology card. So this is what's starting out your business. So in my case, take one private customer from a deck if you don't sell all of your goods at the profit stage. Okay, so that's one thing to important note about all these cards. They have different stages at the top before the text. That is telling you when the card is triggered. So just kind of being aware of that.
That was really well done. I thought that was excellent and very helpful. They did an excellent job stepping you through this game. Each of these boards here has the steps of them numbered, and they tell you exactly what to do in each step, which is amazing.
Yeah. So score on that, and then they even did. You didn't mention this in the rulebook section. They do have a cheat sheet. Pretty good cheat sheets.
It's just for the iconography, though, really.
Right, which is what you mostly need it for. All right, and then the other card that you're going to end up getting is a starting special feature that you can end up using to build your stuff with. Now, okay, so then the first thing that you're going to do during your turn is you have 2 tiles. Now, you're going to mash them somehow to be able to see so many icons. Now, in this case, for example, if I did this, right, I can see a total of 7 icons, right? So no matter what, I have to cover up at least 1 space on my other tile, but in this case, I covered up 3, okay? Now, what that means is for every one I covered, I get an additional goods produced at that time, okay? We're not there yet, but just to kind of keep that in mind. And then your icons also allow certain things to happen. So the money icon allows you to increase your price. The tech icon allows you to, it's a purchasing power when it goes to tech. So basically you did your research for your technicians. You have a marketing symbol that goes to marketing. And then you have the black,
extra production,
but then you also have the extra production that costs you in your price. So you got to go cheaper on your price to be able to do that.
It's really not so much a penalty or like a cost. It's more of a whatever you want to set your price at. You got to make sure you get the icons right, because there's a base price of 5, and depending on how many pluses or minuses you have with dollar signs, adjust your price accordingly. So you want to, if you know you want to go in and set your price at $4, you got to make sure you end up with enough negatives to offset the positives.
Well, but then you also want to make sure that you have enough of the tech icons or the marketing icons that you want to be able to purchase cards that you need. And this is where that engine building kind of gets good. I mean, at the beginning of the game, you could probably have, the lowest cost and be able to sell a bunch of stuff, but then you can't really build your engine if you don't have these technician or the tech icons in the marketing. So just being aware of that and making sure that, it makes sense for what you're doing. I am going to end up, I'm actually going to play it like this because this is fun.
And you're doing this simultaneously. So while she's setting hers, I'm choosing mine as well. So
it didn't feel simultaneous because I'd be done with mine in like a minute. And then Randy would be studying it really hard for a good 15 minutes. So, it was.
I think Heather was the slow poke in the last game.
You and Rob, though, were killing me the other day.
Yeah. Well, Rob, it was his first game, so.
No, yes, but you weren't. I do think if you do end up having that problem, I might recommend getting a little timer, because honestly, sometimes I did wait for you guys a very long amount of time, and if you've got slow pokes, you might just want to introduce that into the rules. Oh, look, you have a timer. You have 2 minutes to decide your tiles.
The important thing is everybody has to reveal them at the same time.
Yes.
Because if otherwise, you could look at what somebody else is doing and adjust your price accordingly, which isn't fair. Because that's really important to this game, is the order of pricing from lowest to highest is going to determine who gets the customers first.
Right. So, all right, so I've got mine. So now we're going to act like we've picked out mine. So the thing is, all right, so right now I have a cost. So I'm looking at all my money signs. I only have a -1 cost now. So I'm going to go
to 4. Now I kept mine where I have a negative and a positive, so I stay at 5 as my base price. So that means you're going to get to bid me, or you're going to get to bid before I do.
So, all right, so that's the planning phase. Now we've already into pricing because that's where we did this. Now we're moving on to technology. Now I have 4 of these tech icons showing. So I have 4 tech money, if you will, to be able to purchase cards. Now there's a couple of things. So the bigger cards, you can only gain 1 card during a round, no matter how much tech tokens that you have, unless the event says otherwise. Okay, which happens at the beginning.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the game, you're going to determine customers that are out based upon the accumulation of these events. So in this case, the event says in this case, we got the one that gives you 3 more purple cards, and you can buy up to 2.
So you would have changed the board and
Yeah.
that at the beginning before you plan. So just FYI, we kind of skipped that. But all right, so back to technology. So I can only normally buy one. We're going to continue to buy one for this round, even though our event's a little bit different. And then I could bet you can buy many of this second one here. Now I have 4 icons, and you know what? I really like, I'm going to look, I have a lot of 5G requirements over here towards this more expensive end. And then I don't have a lot of, I have a few ends for the 3 stars, huh? All right, well, I'm going to end up buying this one with my 4, okay? So I'm going to end up buying a special feature. So I've done a lot of technology, and I have a 2-star end feature that I can then play during the production phase if I so choose to increase the features of my phone. All right, now, Randy over here, he also has 4 tech.
Yeah.
What are you going to be purchasing?
Okay, so here this one gives me a tech, they call it a progress token. This is one of the things, it was a printing issue, or in the rule book, they call it a progress token on the card. They call it like a tech chip or something in the rule book. It's not the same.
No, it's the tech chip in here in the rule book. It says the progress.
Oh, is that okay? So,
so the cheat sheet's different than the card and the book.
So this one gives me 1 progress token if there's no person with a higher price, which right now I got the most price, and this happens during the technology, so I will get the chip for that. And then I've got 2 more to spend, so I'm going to get me a camera that has 2 stars on it, so I'm adding to my the perceived value of my product and getting a camera.
Yeah. So I bought first during the technology. However, it's going to be the opposite when you go to marketing. So Randy's going to be able to purchase marketing first, right? So it does that little, Catan little loop. The person who was last is now first.
But trust me, you want to be lowest in price when it comes to a lot of things.
Technology.
But that said, you have to make sure you have cost that allow you to be cost effective at that price. All right, so I only have 1 of the marketing icons. None of the cards up there are worth 1, but marketing, whereas purple cards, if you have left over, there's chips that you can take, basically gift certificate for future rounds. On the marketing, you have to spend all of your marketing. So since I can't buy any of the cards, the other option is you can buy customers to be in your private customer stash, and you have to sell to them first if possible. So I'm going to take a blue customer because I've got it set at 5, and that gives me basically a 2/3 chance of selling to this. And I got a 5. So they're willing to pay me top dollar what I'm asking for my product.
All right, so now it's my turn. I also have 1 marketing, so I can't buy any of the cards. And so I'm going to go pick one of these. Now, I am also going to pick a blue card because I'm at a level 4. I'll be able to sell all blue of those. So it's a 100% chance that I'll be able to sell to this customer. Now, here's the thing, though. I also know I'm going to go to sell first. So maybe I don't actually want to sell to this customer because I want to eat up my inventory so Randy don't get it. So and instead I'm going to take a green, okay? Because I can save it for next round. And
assuming you don't have the features.
Right, assuming I don't have and it requires 4 stars. I only have 3 stars available to me. So that's not a problem at all. But it gives me a customer for later rounds, which can be very beneficial when maybe I'm not the lowest price. All right, so with that being said, now we're going to go into production. Now, at this point, I'm going to count. Remember what I said? We're covering 2, so I have 2 that are covered. I have 3 of the icons facing me, so that's a total of 5.
And then we have 1 event, which each of the events, at least so far though we've seen, has a production on it. So that adds another production.
Now it goes to 6. Check your tech, because your tech may also give you additional goods to spend, or goods produced. So now I'm at 6.
I have 3 here, 1 there, so that's 4. So I'm going to go and put this on the 4. So I'm producing 4 this round. And the pricing being 5 now starts my base net profit. But I also have to determine what features I'm going to produce with.
Yeah. So I've decided to play both of my cards because it gives me 3 stars. And there's a lot of people that want 3 stars, as well as both of these features. So I'm going to go with it. All right. And then I also have 2 of the money icons on my production area. So I'm going to have to, so it costs me 2 to produce. I'm selling it for 4. So that only gives me 2 profit, if you will. So every time I sell something, I'll be able to get a profit of 2.
All right, so I am going to go in with all my cards as well. So I start at 5, and I've got 3, so I'm also at a profit of 2.
Okay. All right. So now then we're going, we just did production. Now we're going on to sales. All right. So I'm going to start off because again, I'm selling it for the cheapest. So I get my fill and I have 6. So I can only sell. So the first thing I do is I'm going to go down here. I do not have 4 stars. You have to sell to your private customers first. They don't have anything. So I'm going to move over here. This one has a 4-star. Can't do. This one requires 5G. And then I'm going to go up here. N and 3 stars. I can sell to this one. This one requires 8 and 3 stars. Don't have flip. Camera and 3 stars I can sell to. N and 3 stars I can sell to. Okay, so that puts me up at 3. I can take 3 more. So I'm going to take 3 of these. Okay, so now I've got a total of the 6 cards. That's the most that I had. So that goes down to 0. So there we go. I have sold everything that I produced that round.
Now I'm doing the same. So I've got a 5 customer here, which they're willing to buy. So that's my first one. I only have 4 product to sell though. Here I do not have 5G, so I cannot sell to this one. I'm only at 3 stars. This I do have 8K and 3 stars, so I will sell to that one. And then these 2 are at 5, so they're willing to buy for me. So there's my 4. So that it sells all my product. And as you can see, if you're playing this 4 players, you're going to run into situations where you're running out of customers.
Yeah, you will run out of customers. Now, I do want to point out, so we kind of said, oh, blue cards. Now, you're going to ask yourself, well, why if the price is lower and your price is 5, will they buy from you? Well, these green cards have a special thing where it's if your thing is priced at 3 or lower, or you have these special features. So basically, they want to go on the cheap unless they get exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then they're willing to spend the big bucks, like me. So that's very true. Now the red, so the blue just has the cost on there, and that's really the only thing that they care about. Now the red's a little bit different as well.
They're the connoisseurs.
They're the connoisseurs. So the red, not only it has to fight the cost, like it has to match the cost, which is fine. They're willing to pay top money. But then they have to have, so like the greens are either or. This one is and. So just being aware of that difference when you're going to pick your place. Then you always start from the bottom and go up, right? So
you go left to right, bottom, top.
Right. Because you don't get to pick like, oh, they have 5G. I have 5G, but I also have flip phone. So I'm just going to sell to the 5G people so he can't do the flip. That's not how that works. It literally goes from, like you said, left to right, top to bottom.
Bottom to top.
Bottom to top, sorry. All right, so we've made our sales. Now we're going to go over to the profit. Now, I was able to sell 6. Randy's only able to sell 4, so I get a special benefit for getting the most sold. Yeah. And that is
8 money.
8 money. And he's second place, so he gets 4 money for doing that. And it continues to decrease for third, and then nothing for fourth.
And if there's ties, then you add the 2 positions together and divide by 2. And also, you have to have sold something in order to get qualified for a bonus.
Correct. All right. So I got my 8 money for that. Then I said, okay, well, I made a profit of 2. I sold 6. I get additional 12 points. Now, the money in this is actually victory points. So basically, I got 20 points this round. The 8 for the bonus, the 12 for the cards. That's mine. What would you have gotten?
So for the round, I've got 4 cards, 2 profit again, just like she had. So I got 8 plus the 4 is the bonus. So I got 12. Now, there are cards in the marketing, I think in particular, that will give you additional money at the end of the round for meeting certain conditions. And so you may have some bonuses each round for that. There's also game end bonus cards in both, I think, the purple cards and the orange cards. So yeah, the marketing and the technology, there's some bonus in-game bonuses. So
just be aware of that to make sure that you know how to maximize those scores. For example, there's one marketing card I had last time that if I sold to the 3 different colors of customers, I got an additional like $4, which is pretty significant if you think about it. Because you're doing pretty good that's essentially selling an extra phone or 2 based on that thing. So that's pretty nice. So overall, we've probably played this more times than we have to review this. Since we've done any review, because it ended up being at our table when people have come over, so we've played it multiple times. Overall, I think it is spot on for a business themed game. If you are wanting kind of that business crunchiness, this is it. Is it exciting? No, not covering.
Speak for yourself. I find it interesting.
No, I didn't say it was interesting. I said exciting. There's a difference in the wording there. But here's the thing, though. I love running businesses. That's one of those things that I kind of like. So I actually really enjoyed it. But is it going to feeding anything? No. Is it, building a bridge or anything like that? But I think it has a very good place. Do I like this more than smartphone? Honestly, smartphone was a really long time ago. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why I went back to look to see what I gave smartphone. What I will say is I like the fact that this one, I think it's an easier to get to the table, and the fact that it walks you through. Smartphone, from what I remember, it was a hard read to get people to understand everything that was happening. It still had the same mechanics with these things, and I think that's the common theme. But smartphone was more of a beast to learn. This one, it was cake to learn it, because every step tells you exactly what you do on those steps right there in front of you. I thought that was great. It's also more portable.
Yeah, I think this was definitely maybe a simplified version is not even the right word. I think they got better in explaining the rules with this one.
Yeah.
And I think their improvement for rulemaking and design-wise has really improved for this. Because I do remember it being frustrating because you had to go back to the book so many times, I think, with smartphone, what I can recall. So, overall, though, I think it's fine, and I think it's fun. And I think I'm probably going to give it a 7.5. I think it's a good, solid game. I think it's great for one of those business honestly, I could see teaching this to a business class. I think this would be great for a high school class trying to figure out business, because all the steps are there. I really do think this is actually a great learning tool.
And I'm going to go higher because I think because of those reasons, I think it deserves higher. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really enjoy it.
You really liked it.
I said it brings back warm fuzzies of my college class, which was my favorite thing, was running that business simulation. And that's exactly what you do in this. And it has, it feels like you're in the business. You've got your company, you're running against, competing with each other. You're setting your price, knowing what your competitors' features are probably going to be, because you can know what cards they have. And you can kind of guess and look at the customers that are out there and do your market research to know what the customers are looking for. It's got every aspect of running a business in it. And it's in a simple form. I'm impressed by the design of this.
My only concern is, so far, the person who went with low cost, high volume has won every single time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think but I also think the only way you can go competitively with a low cost strategy is if you get the right cards. And I think that might be the bigger weakness. There's a definite advantage to getting cost cutting cards, and also eventually getting ones that let you produce more units. But there's also a lot of in-game bonuses, but the in-game bonus cards didn't feel like they were as weighty as getting those cost-cutting cards.
And like Dad did low cost, high volume, and he kicked our butts.
Yeah.
And then I went that strategy the second go around, and then I kicked your butt pretty heavily.
But Heather tried it, but she set her price too low and ended up making no profit.
Well, but she only did it for one round. She was going on the higher end for the rest of the game. Now, I tried and then I tried to do the high end strategy, kind of knowing now out of the third time after playing it. And I think it's possible with the right cards, but they have to come out straight out of the gate. And so I think there's another piece of it is, depending on the card flip, which to a point, to its credit, depending on the card flip, you're going to have to alter strategy maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe middle on the road is the way to go. But in that same breath, there might be more towards that bottom end of low frequency, high frequency and low cost. And, maybe that's true for businesses, but I actually don't think that's true, because there are some companies that thrive on low volume luxury items.
Yeah.
So,
but you've managed to run away with it by getting the tech features that had no cost associated with them, but gave you stars and so on. That has helped you win. Last time, it wasn't really the tech features I got. It was the fact that I got cards that let me negate the dollar signs, which are on the other kind of purple card.
Well, but that's not true, because the other reason is I also had that same card that you had, if your thing is priced at 4 less, you get 2 additional production. Which allows me to beat everybody on I got the 8 points pretty much all the time, as long as I could sell them all. So and I think that card's pretty darn. So my concern is there might be a way to win.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so that's why I kind of gave it a 7.5, is because I do have this like hesitation where I love different strategies in a game, but I like it to where it's actually close. Or, you know, you're actually, there's that tight mechanism.
You had a round in there where you dominated on scoring when you were set at the price it maxed out at 8. I mean, I can't say that it's always going to be that way. I think that just the fact that I got the right cards to counter that, because you outscored all of us when you did that because your profit margin was so high.
Well, and the thing is I'm playing with the strategy. There might be a strategy available depending on the card.
Yeah.
So because I think what you have to do is do heavy market, get the customers to you that will pay anything, jack up. So I do think that there might be a strategy there. But I think and I don't know yet because we haven't played it enough to really test that out. But there might be a way. So guys, tell us if you've played this a lot. Is there a way to win on the high strategy? I'd be very interested because in my mind, I see some of that ticking with maybe some of the cards, and maybe we just.
And I will say there's also cards, because these are my favorite cards in the deck, that customers will buy your product even though they're only willing to pay $4. They'll pay $6 because they're confused about your product apparently, and they'll just go ahead and pay the $6 for it. I love those cards. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, but I think there's a lot of good stuff here, and I think there's significant strategy and card picking up, planning your movements, doing all of that. So I do think that's pretty valid. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight. Hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.